Welcome to the Learning Curve, powered by Two Turn, the podcast for center owners who care as much about their spreadsheets as they do their students. I'm Adam, and I'm here to get into the weeds about running a successful center with John Ishak, CEO and co-founder of Luna Academy here in Bangkok. Welcome.
It's great to be here.
Thank you. Introduce yourself. Tell us about Luna Academy and how you started it.
Luna Academy is a human skills, soft skills learning center which focuses on debate and public speaking. I guess that's just a fancy way of saying that we teach debate and we teach public speaking mostly. And it's been around for 2 years. We started in June 2024, but I've been involved in debating like my first public speaking competition was when I was 9 years old. And then my first debate competition was when I was 15. Then I started coaching debating at 18 years old and then worked under different companies, did a lot of freelance coaching as well across Asia. Yeah.
Yeah, and where are you from?
I'm from Malaysia initially. Yeah.
And coming from there, which has like a much stronger debate background, right? Would you say?
Yeah.
And then going into Bangkok, we talked about this. Tell me about setting that up, because Bangkok just has a completely different debate scene. And I'm not as familiar with it as you are, but kind of explain the differences and how you got into starting it here.
I think debating as like the competitive sport has just existed in Malaysia for a longer time than Bangkok. And there's also the advantage of like English being a second language in Malaysia. Most people speak English. All schools, almost all schools, if not all schools, have a debate club or a debate team. There's a bunch of competitions going on hosted by private entities and government as well. Government hosts debate competitions. So there's a lot bigger support and the infrastructure is already there in Malaysia. But in Bangkok, it's kind of a new thing. Like it's existed for a while, but it hasn't gotten like widespread or very big. Like not all schools have a debate club or a debate team. Like there's not many coaches. Like the university scene, for example, here for university level competitions, there's not a lot of universities that have debating versus like in Malaysia, almost all universities have debating. So a lot of the coaches are university students helping out school students. So there's a whole ecosystem there. Here, it's starting. I think in the last 5 years, it's gotten bigger and bigger slowly, but there's still a lot more room for where it could be.
You were here in the beginning.
I was here. I would say that I was here in the beginning. So I came over here in 2022. And there was already debates. There was already debate competitions, national level competitions. I think like one of the older debate competitions is called EUTH, EU Thailand Debate Championship. It's funded by the European Union, and last year was like their 15th edition. So it's been around for like 15 years. Then that could be the benchmark. But I guess then after that was COVID. And then you know how COVID messed everything up and everything has to start again from scratch. People have to learn how to live in society again, go
Talk
out
again.
there again, learn how to talk again. So that's where I think, okay, it's a restart of the whole thing. And that's where I came in right after COVID, like right after the quarantines and everything were lifted after COVID.
I feel like you had a big mission ahead of you, which is just educating about debate
Yeah.
and the tournaments and the structures and why parents should care and why kids should care. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I think like here for international schools especially because that's where most of our students come from, international schools. Like teachers are coming from all around the world. And debating is like everybody debates. Like you debate with yourself, you debate with your friends, you debate in coffee shops and all of that. In terms of like competitive debating as a sport, there's just so many different versions of it, so many different formats of it from all around the world. So let's say in America, you have like Lincoln Douglas debates, public policy debates, presidential style debates. And those are like what American teachers in international schools would be used to. But then let's say British teachers would have the British parliamentary format debates, or in Asia there's the Asian parliamentary format debates, or there's a World Schools Debating Championship format. There's so many different kinds of these formats, and there's also a big famous competition actually is World Scholars Cup, that it has like up to 400 teams. So there is some kind of recognition of debating, but there isn't really a standardization. So then when schools want to send to a competition, they see this format. The teachers are like, oh, they have a background in debating, but they don't know this format in particular. And then that, I guess, makes them a bit uncomfortable. And parents maybe, sure, they've done debating in like maybe their university lectures before when they were in college and all of that. But when they see this specific kind of debating that we do, which is the following the World Schools Debating Championship or Asian parliamentary formats, they're a bit like, oh, what is this? They're not really that aware of it. So there is definitely a lot of education on competitive debating. I think people are aware of debating, but they think of it as just like, oh, yelling at each other, arguing at each other, fighting with each other, or like presenting some kind of policy idea, something like that. But for this specific kind of competitive debating as a sport, that's something that uh, parents and teachers in schools are not super familiar with.
How did you approach the education part? How did you breach that?
I think a lot of it was one tapping into what was already existing, which is the World Scholars Cup. Uh, I personally am not a fan of it. I mean, it's a great start for beginners, but I think it's very like targeted at elementary or middle school students. It's a very easy format, and like the judges are mostly like parents or teachers who just show up for the event and then they just pull you in to judge. So it's not really following like the international standard of competitive debating as much. But there's already then a market of people who are interested in debating. Like they try that, they're like, "Oh, I had some fun. What can I do next?" So then that's where we would have to go in and like try to educate the public. What we do is we host debate competitions, like kind of like in between. So right now you have the World Scholars Cup, which is really big, and then you have competitive parliamentary debating, which is quite small. Like a tournament in Bangkok could get like 40 teams, 30 teams, 40 on a good day, versus World Scholars Cup that has like 400. So the challenge is how do we transition from World Scholars Cup into this? There's not much events in between. Like it's either this super easy basic debate competition or very complicated, like high level. So we bring something in between that we take in. If you've done World Scholars Cup, we take the conventions and the understanding of World Scholars Cup and then still have those elements in our debate tournaments that Luna Academy hosts. And then, but we are also including the elements from that higher level of competitive debating. So to create that bridge that people will be more comfortable with, right? That when they go to our event, it's not super strange. It's not super weird. Like, oh, they recognize, oh, World Scholars Cup also does that. Because a lot of times when people go to these main competitive competitions, stuff like briefings, like debater briefing, judge briefings in the morning, it all comes from like an assumption that everybody there already has a coach and everybody there already knows what they're doing and they're just there to compete with each other, which I think really creates a higher barrier for people with no experience. Like people who just see an advertisement about the competition and decide to join in, they'll join in, they'll feel lost, they don't know what's going on, they'll be super confused. Everybody else knows what's going on, but they don't. And then they never join again in the following years. So that's what we try to do is okay, we have events that you can come join in, and then we take that extra time like in the briefing and have workshops and briefings before that to make sure everybody is aware and knows what they're doing. I think people want to do it, but as any new thing, people are scared, right? And as long as you give them that information, hopefully that makes them more comfortable to try to do it again. Yeah.
How do you sell them on, I guess, the ROI of like, what's the point of doing debate if parents ask?
Hmm. So I've been thinking about this a lot, especially like for myself as well. Why I've been debating for over 10 I'm like, why am I doing this? At a certain point, there are diminishing returns. But I look at it as like a sport, right? Like in any sport, let's say you're playing football or soccer, right? What's the value of you being able to kick as hard as you can? Is there any real life application of like you're just gonna walk around and you're gonna suddenly have the need or the need to be able to kick a circular object at a high speed? No. But the purpose of that is to take the skills of like your physical ability and push it to the max to see how far you can go. So I think competitive debating is like that. Is okay, you can talk, you can speak, you can communicate, but how far can you push it? How much can you take something that is complex and hard or like a sophisticated argument, a high level idea, and package it into something simple that can fit in like 5 minutes and make your audience understand that? So it's like an exercise in testing um, your skill of communication, like of confidence as well. Like usually in earlier rounds in competitions, you don't have an audience. You only have the judge in front of you. But then when you go into like the knockout rounds, like the semifinals, the quarterfinals, then you would have people who didn't make it to the knockout rounds watch that debate. So now you have a little bit of an audience. And then when you reach it to the finals, then you have the whole tournament watching you. So it kind of gradually pushes you, introduces a bigger and a bigger and a bigger audience. So that's where you can see, okay, how far can you push your confidence level? Maybe what happens a lot is you make it to the knockout rounds and then suddenly there's an audience in front of you and then you freeze and then you crash, right? That's normal for the first time. And then next time you try it, okay, now you're more comfortable. And then you reach to the finals, you get a bigger audience and see if you can handle that or not. So it's a lot of putting yourself in these controlled situations that focus on the skill of uh, persuasion, presentation, but also critical thinking. Debate motions have a lot of real life topics and hypothetical topics as well. Like the people would ask, what's the point of kids debating about what is the best solution for the Iran conflict that is going on? It's like they're not like whatever they say will not have any impact on that conflict whatsoever. And let's say even if it does inspire them to become diplomats or politicians or people who would be involved later on as they're an adult, they're the whole context and the situation would be completely different by then as well. But the point of it is that so you would read up on the news so that you learn how to not just read the news and see the opinions, but you have to defend those opinions or you can challenge those opinions. You don't get to choose which side you are on for a topic. Like you're assigned randomly which side you're on. So a lot of times you'll have to argue against your own personal beliefs, right? Like I've had students who they say, "Oh, I always get the side that I don't agree with." And I would tell them, "Yeah, that's the point. That you have to then pretend like you're on the other side of your own opinion and argue in favor of that as well." And that just challenges your critical thinking, your preconceived notions. So all of that is to say that there are some skills that debate gives you that can translate into things that are useful in the real world, like in your job. You're not going to give a debate speech during a board meeting, right? But once you've pushed your skill to that level, then doing something that is not as aggressive or in a easier context will then become super easy for you. So that's, I guess, what we try to sell to the parents is that these are skills that are necessary. I think everybody's aware of like 21st century skills and like human skills. Used to be called soft skills, now they're called human skills because we're humans, we're not AI. And then there's that fear as well of kids not thinking. Any question they have, they ask ChatGPT, right? And like when they're talking, they're afraid to talk to people in person, but when it's online or like in text, they can say all these things. So these are definitely skills that these kids need. There are many ways for them to get those skills. Like you could do drama, you could do like case presentations or all those other kinds of activities, but debating is one of those activities, and we encourage students to try it out. If they like it, they can stay and take it to see how far they go. But if they try it, they don't like it, then that's fine. There's other things that they can do as well. So the skills are necessary, but using debate as a way to get those skills, I honestly don't think that that's super necessary for everyone, but this is one avenue to do it. And if you like it and you enjoy the competitive element of it, if that pushes you to become better, then yeah, go for it. Stick with it.
I mean, one of those skills is like podcasting. Like you
Yeah.
can just talk extemporaneously for a long time, which a lot of people can't do, honestly.
Yeah.
Or for like streamers or influencers and stuff, the ability to just talk and like be cohesive, it's
Hmm.
difficult. I mean, that's a big skill.
Yeah, especially in like this landscape where you got to put your face out there, and anything that you do, you kind of have to be a micro influencer for it and be able to speak on the spot. People often like get shocked when they hand me a mic, and then I'll just say stuff and they're like, how can you do that? But to me, I don't feel it hard now. That's also because I've been doing that for a very long time. And that's it. It's as any skill, it comes with practice, right? Like whatever you do, you're not going to be good at it at first. As long as you practice it, you'll get better. So debating is like that platform for you to be able to practice that and get better at it.
Talk about the operations a bit. You say
Mm.
you host some debates sometimes, or you take people to tournaments. Tell me
Mhm.
everything Luna Academy does.
So our main business is debate classes and public speaking classes. So for public speaking classes, usually what we would do is we have some themes or some topics of speeches for them to work on, and then we'll guide them through the process of writing that speech. I think public speaking, the way we do it, is not as much of as a on the spot kind of situation. It's more of, okay, you have your topic, you outline your speech, you do your research, you write your first draft, we point out the mistakes and how to make it better. You write your second draft, you write your third draft, and then you keep on practicing that speech, practice it again and again and again. And then we fix things like intonations, body language. Like we get into line by line of, okay, this line, read it in a happy tone, read it in a sad tone, read it in an angry tone, emphasize on this word, emphasize on this word, emphasize on this word, like, and see which way works the best, and really curate that speech to reach is like, okay, this is the best version and the best way that you can present this speech. Like even hands, maybe, oh, you count down first point, second point, third point, or maybe you do first point, second point, third point, or maybe you do first point, second point, third point. All of that gives a different meaning and a different vibe to it. So we try not to teach our students that there is one specific way of doing it, but we show them here are all of the different options and different directions that you can take your speech, and then you decide what you like the best. And the goal is that not for them to be a particular kind of speaker, but for them to be able to be the kind of speaker that they want to be, and have the capability to do that and not be hindered by a lack of skill or anything, right? Like, for example, if they're very experienced, you can put on different characters. Like, present this as a newscaster, present this as a kick streamer, or present this as a like a TikTok video, like the same content, but it's all different vibes. So that's how they can learn to adjust into those different things. So that's our public speaking class. For debate,
And those are
yeah,
group classes
group classes,
in like
yes,
a center.
in our center. So
Okay.
we have classes at our center, public speaking classes, debating classes at our center, but we also do ECAs, or extracurricular activities, at schools. So there's some engagements that we do directly with the school, and then some engagements that is just like a parents group of like the parents from that school coming together, pooling in their resources, and they say, oh, we want our kids to do debate, and then they'll bring us in and hire us to coach the kids. So we have in-house at our center, and then we also go to schools, and we also go to like, sometimes parents would rent out a meeting room at a co-working space or something like that, so we go there as well. So that's on the education, on the classes part of things. That's like our main source of income. That's our main business, and everything else is to support that. Like we do events like debate competitions, public speaking competitions, because one, I think the goal of what we teach, we use competition to get there, right? Like, how can you prove that you have learned public speaking? Oh, in your portfolio, you have, I've participated in this public speaking competition, or I've won this debate championship, or something like that. So for university applications, that helps a lot compared to just like, oh, I took this public speaking and debate course, right? So having actual competition experience, having those certificates helps them to prove their skill and their ability. And also it gives them motivation, right? What are you training for? Like, I think adults, it's easier to be like, I'm training for this because I want to be better at it. But for kids, they kind of don't care about that as much. But if you're saying, oh, you're training for this because you're going through this competition and you want to win this, that's a much stronger motivation for them. There are some of these competitions in Thailand, but they're not, I think, they exist, but there could be more. So we try to fill in those gaps as well and have these events. So the events serve as a goal for our students. And also it serves as marketing as well. Like, people see, oh, this is what debating is. You have photos, you have videos of them giving their speeches. So that also helps in like educating the market of what debate can be. Yeah. What else do we do? Yeah, classes, and then events mostly. Oh, we take our students to competitions, to other competitions as well. Locally, overseas. Like recently, we went to Vietnam for a middle school competition. One of our speakers got fourth best speaker.
Nice.
Yeah. And the team, they made it through to the knockout rounds. They got knocked out immediately, like at the octo finals. But just to be like, oh, they were an octo finalist at this competition, it's
Yeah.
still an achievement and it's still great for them. So if there aren't competitions locally at those times that our students are available, we will look into competitions regionally, usually like in Southeast Asia, like Vietnam, Malaysia, or Singapore, China sometimes as well. We have like our network of debate academies of people that I've known from when I was debating back in college, and now they're doing their own companies and their own events all across like Asia. So yeah, we find these opportunities, we share it to our students. It really is up to like how far they want to go, and then we'll encourage and push them to get there.
Your model is interesting because you're doing classes on in your own like office
Mm,
or in center place, and sometimes rented places,
mm,
and on campuses of schools and
mm,
doing ECA stuff.
mm,
How do you manage all that, and each how do you break into each type of market like that? Because 'Cause they're all very different. And are there
mm,
conflicts, or, like, kinda walk me through that? Because like, breaching schools is very difficult for a lot of people, I think,
mm,
and to have your own center and not make it seem like it's competing with itself is kinda
mm.
hard.
That part about it's competing with itself is really true. Uh, I think that ideally we would want to eventually move away from doing it at schools or at these other places, because we do like with schools, it's a different package, you know, it's a different deal. It's not students paying individually, it's like the school paying you for your time, and then they might have like more students and all of that. So in terms of like maximizing or optimizing the profit and the revenue from that, our center, the classes at our center are definitely the best financial wise. And it does compete, because initially we thought that if we go to these schools, it's to get our name out there. And it did work, and it did get our name out there. You know, when you're just starting, you're like a beggar. Beggars can't be choosers. You just take whoever, whichever client would want to take you, and because you want to build that reputation, build that name. But then now that we kind of have built that name a little bit more, the idea was to bring the people from these schools. Like, for example, at our center, we do 2 hour, 3 hour classes. But at the schools, we just do 1 hour, for example. So it's kind of like a little taste of it. And we always say, if you want to go deeper, if you want even more practice and all that, come to our center. Never worked. That has never worked, because what we realized later is that, like, as a parent, if you already have like this cheaper version um at the school, which is very convenient, which is near your house anyway, and like, oh, it's just 1 hour, like, sure, fine, my kid can go to this. Like, why would you want to go to somewhere else that is further, that the classes are longer, that it's more expensive? So that's what we learned later on of just like, oh, this was supposed to be marketing and we were okay with charging less with hopes that it would come to our center later. But uh, it actually doesn't. So then we change our intentions, which is so when we have debate competitions, for example, like I said, there's like 30 or 40 teams in the tournament. It doesn't seem wow, right? You go to this event, there's like, okay, 20 teams, there's a few teams. It doesn't seem like it's a prestigious, really big thing. Like, for example, in Vietnam, that competition we went to, it had 104 teams. That's insane. Like the tournaments that I used to go to in school in Malaysia would have 60, 80 teams, like double the size of what it is in Thailand. But then what we learned is, the thought process is for those events, for those tournaments to look big, to look grand, we have to create those teams. So I think we're fine with eventually pulling out of these schools and pulling out of these groups. And hopefully we built it in a way that they can survive on their own. That even if we're not coaching them, maybe their seniors that we have coached before can coach the juniors, and that they can have their own debate club. And we try to talk to teachers about establishing the debate club and like be like, okay, we want to try to get those debate clubs to be self-running, self-sustaining. And that doesn't make money for us, but it improves the whole ecosystem, and then everyone benefits and everyone wins. So that's the pivot in the direction, I guess, that we're trying to go for.
So, are you worried about schools kind of just taking over the ECA program, or would that be better for you?
I think it would be better. I think that if, let's say, teachers sit in sometimes when we're teaching and then they're sitting in, I know for like they're definitely just trying to take the stuff so that they can probably take over later and do it themselves. I don't mind that because one, now there are more teams that go to the tournaments, but also two, compared to someone who has sit in our classes and tried to take that curriculum or take that knowledge and do it on their own, they can do that. But do they have 10, 15 years of experience in this? They probably don't. Um, so I don't think it's threatening or anything. And it's good. More people do it. And then hopefully later, maybe the students that are there that are learning in their club, they feel like, oh, I want to take this to a higher level. Where can I learn? Who can I go to? And then they'll come and look for us, hopefully.
So talk about that. So, if that happens,
Hmm.
and right now, how are you advertising your center separately? And if those ECA programs were cut off,
Hmm.
how would you be growing the center?
So right now, we're kind of split 50-50. Like our center is 50% of the operations, like in terms of number of students. Like half of our students are at our center, half of our students are at these ECAs. But I see them as they're different demographics, right? Like the people who come to the ECAs are people who would not have come to our center anyway, is what we realized. But now at least more people know about debating. More parents know about debating. More parents brag about, oh, my kid does debate. My kid went through this competition. And then more parents want it. And then, like, the parent community and scene in Bangkok is actually very small. Like, everybody knows each other somehow across all of these different international schools. I think there's like almost 200 international schools in Bangkok. But somehow parents from each of all these schools all know each other, right? So that's the long game, I guess. There is if more kids are doing this, then more parents know about it, more people know about debating, and then more people would look for coaches or look for centers. And hopefully it will reach a point that we can cut off our ECA operations entirely and really just focus on our center. But I think eventually what would happen is, and this is just my theory, maybe we can watch this video again in 5 years and see if my prediction is true, is so you have the ECAs right now, we're doing them in Bangkok, right? And once Bangkok has like that buzz about debating, and then our center, like if you're in Bangkok, come to our center and learn. But then we will probably do ECAs and do like these groups in other places, like in Chiang Mai, or like expanding it further. So I think we're using ECAs and using like these parent groups to enter a new market, to get the word out there. And then they won't join our center. But when they tell their friends and then other people, and then, oh, their schools don't have those ECAs. If they want to do debate, they don't have a choice. They have to come to our center to do it.
Have you seen competitors pop up since you've started?
Yeah.
And so how do you react to that or navigate that as well?
Yeah, it was wild. Like, so I can't be mad about competitors because I didn't enter a completely blank market either. Right? Like when I came to Bangkok, I think there were like two other centers that did debating and public speaking in a similar way, or like um similar direction, targeting similar people like us. So there were already two. And then we came in. But I think like these two have been around for a while. So we're like a new player that came in. And I think before the market kind of had like that, they're like, oh yeah, there's already these two main players. Nobody else can come in and compete with them. But then when we came in, and then all of these other coaches and other people, like a lot of them were freelance coaches, coaches who were just doing it individually, seeing how well Luna Academy was doing. And then now suddenly everybody wants to open up their center. Everybody wants to open up their business. So now I think there's like 6 or 7 debate centers after we open. So it doubled. That does create the competition. But how do I deal with it? I asked my former boss, like in Malaysia, also does this same debate company thing. That's a lot of where I learned of how to do it. And I still keep in touch with her and talk with her. And then I ask her, oh, there's so many people opening up after us. What do we do about it? And her answer was, you do nothing. That's what you do. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, we have to be so much better than our competitors. You don't have to like try to take your competitors down. You don't have to outcompete your competitors. You don't have to, because you know your niche, you know your strengths. And I would say a lot of times, like, I don't want to make the claim that we are the best, but we are the best for our students. And there are people who come to our center who learn with me, because I think this kind of thing really depends on who the coach is. If you like the coach, go with it. Sometimes I've had former students who go learn with other coaches. And when they meet me in tournaments, they get all shy. But I tell them, it's okay, don't worry. Like I'm happy that you're still debating. And I know that your coach is also a good coach, and maybe you prefer their style more than you prefer my style. That's an individual choice. So, yes, we're competitors, but everybody does it in a different way. Everybody has their own different style. So, it is really just like letting people choose. And competition is healthy, right? Like, it also makes the debate community bigger, more tournaments, bigger turnouts at competitions. Um, yeah, so I just don't do anything. I used to check their Instagram and their Facebook and their social media a lot. Like, whatever they post, I got notifications on all of my competitors, right? Because before, I used to work in marketing, so I was like super in tune with all of that stuff. Like, had the bell was on for all of these. Then whenever they post, I was like, oh, I'll see. Oh, this is what they're trying to do. This is what they're trying to do. Really, looking into my competitors. But then I realized that that ends up showing me things that make me unhappy. You know, like I would see, oh, their price is initially at this, and then we set our price. Our price, I would say, is kind of expensive, but that's also because our classes are longer. Per hour, we're actually the cheapest. And then you would see these people, they look at our prices, and then they increase their prices because they realize, oh, you can charge this much and still have students. And then everybody increases their prices to match us. And then that kind of makes me like, so, but we're targeting our prices like this because we're targeting a different market. We're targeting a different demographic. So you're trying to cut into the demographic that I'm after. And And then you'll sometimes see things like, oh, you post content or you make a video in this style, and then you see later they're doing it in the exact same style. They're copying you. I think one, that's still a good thing because that means you're the one ahead and other people are copying you. And mimicry is the best form of flattery and whatnot. But it just makes me frustrated and mad and feels like I always have to like push ahead because these people are chasing me. So one day I just decided, you know what? I'm not gonna look at any of my competitors. I do not care what they do. If their business is going well, good for them. If their business is not going well, I wish the best for them. But that also is good for me. I don't even want to know. Right. And I think that does put me in a better headspace of focusing on how do I make my product better? How do I give my services to be better? And not really worry of, oh, they're doing this, we have to do that too. Oh no, now they're tapping into this. If we don't, we'll lose out. Oh, everybody's using AI, we have to use AI too. So I think just like, you know what, tune out all of the noise and just focus on, okay, what can we do in what we see directly around us.
Speaking about marketing, besides word of mouth and the tournaments, what are your marketing channels?
Digital marketing. Like we do ads, we run ads. Mm, I don't think digital marketing for education, for something that is not very well recognized, I don't think it does really well. Like in terms of conversion, we do it for awareness, just to get the brand out there for awareness. But like I'm used to this because I used to do marketing. But like the other people in my team, they had that thought of like, we're putting so much money into this, into marketing, but we're not getting a return on our investment. We're not getting like direct conversions from digital marketing. But then I told them like that's because that's not how it works. Like when you're doing digital marketing, like even if you have a conversion rate of 0.02%, that's already really, really good for digital marketing, right? But then what happens is that when parents talk to other parents, um, and they say, "Oh, my kid learns debate at Luna Academy," then they would have that like, "Oh, I saw an ad for that recently, actually. Oh, that's what it is." So you can't fully educate them through your ads, but they've just seen you or they've just heard about you. And then when they hear and see, it strengthens the word of mouth, basically, is what I would say. It gives the legitimacy to it as well. Um, so we do digital marketing, and that's actually kind of hard to track of our conversions. Do they come from word of mouth or do they come from digital marketing or do they come from the events? Because in the end, what leads to the final conversion is not any one of those things. It's like a combination of all of those things that finally persuades them. So it's hard to track what actually
Yeah.
works and what is the original trigger for it. But yeah, we just keep on doing digital marketing. Yeah, it's good to have, I guess.
I mean, you do paid ads. Do you
Mm.
do and what app or like what channels are you on?
Facebook, Instagram, that's where most of our parents or where we get our stuff from. We I thought of LinkedIn because a lot of the parents are professionals, and very high up in the corporate ladder as well. So they're probably active on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn just in general is not great.
Yeah.
Like to get visibility on LinkedIn. So our focus is very Facebook focused. Like we're making these posts to fit Facebook, and then we just repost them on LinkedIn as like a side just for it to be there. Because I don't know if LinkedIn works. Maybe you'll have another guest who knows, who's cracked it and figured out how to make it work on LinkedIn. Yeah.
I think region and education, like the education business is
Mm.
difficult for LinkedIn, and it
Mm.
depends on the region a bit too. Um, have no idea if LinkedIn makes any difference when it comes to conversion on that type of stuff.
Yeah. It's so far Instagram, Facebook. Facebook, parents mostly.
Yeah.
Instagram, uh, I don't say that we target ads to kids. Uh, because that's not the intention. But when we post stuff on Instagram, it's mostly kids on Instagram. It's mostly like our students. Like when we post their achievement, they'll repost to their friends, they'll share it to their friends, and that's how you get the word of mouth among the students as well.
Let's talk about operations a bit. Yeah, you're doing the center and the schools and some private stuff. How do you manage all that? Like, I'm like for real, like the scheduling and organizing that and make because that's a lot and it's a small team. How
Mm.
are you doing that?
One, we have a dedicated person for
Yeah.
that. I think tools are great, but you still need a person to handle those tools. And I am so glad that I am not that person. Uh, but yeah, it is challenging. We do have like for our center, like sheets,
Mhm.
and then um, like for the ECAs, a lot of it is like ECAs, you've made the deal for like how many classes, how many weeks, what are the dates. You've already pre-agreed on all of that. So we just have like in our Google Calendar when the classes are, and then through email if there's any changes. Um, and then with the parents groups and these private classes, they all just want to talk online. So it is everywhere. It is everywhere. Things do sometimes fall through the cracks. Okay, they do. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, in Asia, everyone uses messaging app groups.
Yes.
Depending on like what country, it changes the messaging app, but it's all groups,
Mm.
and that's a lot to handle.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a mess. And it's like if people operate on groups, it's easier. Like I would say with the schools is the easiest because it doesn't matter if like one kid cannot make it to the class or like they don't care, right? But with like the parent groups, for example, oh, this kid cannot make it, or like maybe half the class cannot make it, the other half can make it, and they're asking for like to reschedule, or they're asking like to move it to a different time. So that does make things more complicated. At our center, it's pretty easy because we're just like, here's our term, here are our classes. If you miss, you miss. That's it. We make that deal up front. Like if you miss, you miss. But we do have like because we do spars
Mm.
as well for our students, like the students who are enrolled. We have extra sparring sessions just for them to practice debating against each other. And if they miss a class, usually we will just tell them, okay, come to the spars. The spars are free for everyone anyway. You just come to the spars, get some practice. So I think there does need what we've learned when we started, we were super strict about it. We were super strict about if you sign up for this class on Saturday, you and there's the same class on Sunday, you cannot go to the Sunday one. You have to stay on the Saturday one. If you miss the Saturday one, you miss it. Um, and then, but you know, your clients are your clients, and the customer is always right. So if they want to make those things, you just have to find a creative solution to make it like kind of in between, right? It's like, okay, if you miss, here are your options.
Mm.
But anything beyond these options, we're not gonna do. Like a lot of parents ask for, oh, can they have like a one-on-one 2 hours to catch up their kids on last week's lessons? Like, I don't have time to do that.
How do you answer that? Because you have parents, like you said, that are maybe higher up that can
Mm,
be very demanding.
mm,
Maybe some helicopter parents,
mm,
or have some very, the kids have strict schedules, or the parents have weird requirements.
mm.
I mean, a lot of people. I work with
Yeah,
people that ask me a lot, like, how do you handle that?
yeah. I think it's the first step is the onboarding, right? When they sign up, you have to make them aware of what they can and cannot do. And what we realized from being too strict is that they don't like that because they don't have options. But if you give them options of what they can do and have them choose those options from those options, they're more happy with that. Uh, because when we didn't have any of these options is when they made those specific individual requests because they still want to get what they want, right? But if we have options of ways for them to get what they want that don't interfere with what we are currently doing, and they say, okay, if you want this, you can choose from this ABC, and then you let us know which option you want to go for. So having those like set rules of if you miss a class, here is the way that you can replace it, or here are the way that you can make up for it. um yeah, that's one, is having those alternatives and options for them to choose from. The other thing I think is to have them understand how does your program and how does your course work. So because there a lot of parents are used to like academic after school classes that like cover one topic each session or something like that. And then if you miss this topic for this session, they're not gonna go back in the next session. It just keeps on moving on. But I think for us, since debating and public speaking and these human skills are a very everyone has their own path kind of thing. So we say the classroom is small. We only have 8 students in a class, and the class is 3 hours long. Like I have more than enough time in class to catch the student up if they miss a lesson. That's telling them, don't worry. Because a lot of times they're worried about not making their money's worth, right? And they say, or their kid missing out. It's not even about money most of the times for these parents. A lot of it is about they're worried about their kid missing out on the lessons and their progress falling behind. So we just assure them, yeah, everyone's progress is not at the same time anyway. We have to adjust for each student's level and their progress at that time anyway. So don't worry, we'll guide your student individually within the class time to catch them up with everybody else. And like we teach a topic today, but then we keep on practicing it in the next sessions anyway. So there's opportunities for them to catch up. The second issue that parents would have a bit is that getting their money's worth. They feel like, oh, I paid for 24 hours. So I'm going to get 24 hours. If I miss 2 hours, I want those 2 hours back.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's something that any
Very
section-
common.
Very common, especially if you're basing it on hours of lessons. Of course, we still have to tell our parents always ask, well, how many hours in total are there? And when they ask that question, we know that's what they're looking. That's how they're making the calculations in their head is how much is this per hour and maximizing the hours, right? But what we tell them is what you're paying for is not the hours. What you're paying for is the skill, and what you're paying for is like the knowledge and the development and the growth of that student throughout the term. So, if we can get that student to still achieve those goals and still grow and reach those milestones, then the hours don't matter, right? In fact, isn't it better that if you can get something for 12 hours, like a 12 hours worth of stuff, and do it in 6 hours? Isn't that better? Then in that case, it's not about the hours, is it? Right? So it's about the content and the knowledge and the skills that they develop along the way.
And the result.
And the results. So we say it's okay for them to miss a couple of classes. Our curriculum is designed for students to like miss 1 or 2 is fine. We can catch them up. But the point is like by the end of the term that they have covered everything that they need to cover and they get the results that they want to get in terms of those results. So the hours don't matter. The hours are just there just for like a schedule. So we try to make it clear to the parents that they're not paying for the hours, they're not paying for the time. They're paying for our guidance and our experience and our knowledge. That's what they're paying for. And we give a bunch of freebies, which is also why I think the parents don't really mind anymore because like I said, like those free sparring sessions, or let's say when we bring the kids to tournaments, like I stay with the teams of the kids for 2 days, all day, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. sometimes, right? Like you're having 12 hours of my time that I am not charging for, you know? So we tell them, if you want to be calculative about hours, okay, let me be calculative about hours, you know? Then they're like, okay, yeah, it's fine.
Talk about the pricing journey a bit. Like,
Mm.
have you made big adjustments since you started? How do you face objections? You did price yourself a bit higher, you said, than other
Mm.
centers. Tell me about how you reached the certain price points and how you deal with that.
So when I came to Bangkok, I was working in a company that you're also familiar.
Yes, that's how
with.
I know you. Yes.
Yes, we used to work together.
Yeah.
And they had their prices, which was way over what everyone else was charging. Uh, so and the students that we got were a lot of them were from there initially, right? So we were like, as long as we're charging less than them, our parents
Yeah.
will be happy,
Yeah.
right? It's like, oh, give them a 20% less of what they used to pay, and then they'll be happy with that. But we have had to like that's definitely a journey, you know, of figuring out like private classes. Like in the beginning we made a mistake of somehow it ended up that if you do private classes for a certain amount of hours is actually cheaper than you joining the main group classes for a certain amount of hours. Then wait, that does not make sense. Private classes should be way more expensive, right? So we have done those mistakes. I think that it's fine to do mistakes, and but if you've committed to it, you've committed to it, right? And you have to wait until like that batch or that group uh moves on, and then you can increase the price for the next batch. So any price adjustments that we are making is to the new incoming batch, right? And
You never
yeah,
did like price adjustments to current students
no,
ever,
no.
and you've only raised prices?
We have only raised
It's
prices.
pretty good.
Yes, yeah, we have only ever raised prices. Mostly because one, inflation and additional costs and all of that, but also um like in the start. Okay, I should explain this in a very careful way. In the start, as many businesses do, like we're still in the process of registering the company and all of that. So one of the things that forced us to increase the price was tax,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So VAT and all of that. So this is to say that we do pay VAT. You know,
That's
that's
why we
why.
made this video right now.
Yes, that's why we had to increase the price because we had to pay tax,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And then so that's where we told the parents, like, okay, like before we were more here as like freelancers. It's not like as a company, like personal tax and company tax is different. So that's why the prices could be lower. But now we have company tax, we have more responsibilities, and also the income tax for like all of the staff and the team and all of those social security and all of those additional expenses. So
And you're not like a native Thai citizen. So that's
yeah,
a whole other bunch of
yeah,
paperwork and fees and stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like with all of the agents and everything, there's a whole huge cost there. So we did have to increase the price, but our parents were very understanding. I think they're more of like the price isn't the concern for them. And as long as they trust you that you are giving them a reasonable price, uh yeah. Like they will question why are other places cheaper? And then I would say, yeah, because our company, our teachers are foreigners and there's just more expensive to handle that. And we just have more costs and all of that. And all these parents, they're corporate people. They get it. You know, they're like, yeah, I see. That's fine. I understand.
As long as you have a reason.
Yeah, as long as you have a reason. As long as you're not just like, oh, because I can.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to see to push how far how high I can charge this. I do try to be reasonable with it and try to give a fair price, right? Because if you're charging so high and you don't feel like what you're delivering is worth it, it doesn't feel good either, right? So yeah, that's how we do with prices.
I want to talk about the past and then a little bit about the future
Hmm.
before we wrap up. What were some major bottlenecks, operationally, financial,
Hmm.
whatever, that you faced that you kind of wish you had approached differently, or what you learned from it?
Hmm. Um One of the main bottlenecks, I guess, when we were starting is having a venue, is having a center. Like we operate out of a co-working space. And in the start, we were like, where do we want this co-working space to be? Which one do we want to use? Where do we want to do it? Should it be closer to the parent? Should it be, you know? But then what we learned is like just choose somewhere. You know, it's a co-working space. You don't have a lot of upfront commitments. It's not like you're having a 2-year contract and like doing renovations and anything. So just choose somewhere, just get it started, and then from there maybe you can figure out later if you want to move. So far we haven't had to move. We've just stayed in this place, but this place is running out of rooms. So if we do expand and if we do add another teacher, we will have to find another space. So I guess that's always the looming anxiety for us is location and whether or not we have a space to do it. Um, but maybe if we have to operate out of multiple centers, then that adds another layer of complexity of which teachers go where and when and all of that stuff. So maybe two-turn can help out with that.
Well, no, but this leads me to my next question of, let's say ECAs are cut off,
Yeah.
which is your dream, and then you just have your center.
Mm.
You have small classes, group
Mm.
sizes. You said like 8 students,
Mm.
and there's a limited amount of hours that you can teach them because otherwise they're at school. This is what every
Mm.
learning center faces, right? So how do you grow after that? Like,
Mm.
what are your expansion plans, and how would you do that?
Um, right now, there's a lot of infrastructure building groundwork that needs to be done before we can expand. That's also a big thing that is limiting our expansion, is like to train local graduates on debating and how to coach, right? Like if we were to import coaches every single time from other countries, one, that's going to be expensive, and two, I don't like that. I don't like, oh, all of your teachers are foreigners, and sometimes that becomes like a main selling point. I'm like, I don't like that. I've tried getting jobs in countries that say, no, you're not from an English speaking country. You can't teach English here. So I'm not a fan of that. So ideally we want to have locals. Um, but and the other issue as well is that uh like debating is an expensive activity, right? And right now our students are from like a upper class kind of demographic, and that's not a big demographic.
It's true.
Yeah. And these are kids that have 10 other activities as well that they're doing, right? So their amount of time that they have for you is very limited. So the next step would be to expand into opening up to other kinds of schools. So not just international schools, but having students from maybe Thai English program schools, more local schools, or schools outside of Bangkok and all of that. But if we want to do it for that, it cannot be at the price point of Luna. That's kind of the challenge. So we are thinking of making like so we have our event called Power of Persuasion. It's a debate tournament. So kind of making that another wing of like workshops, debate workshops to help new teams prepare to join that competition so that it doesn't uh compete with like the image of Luna being like a premium, more, yeah, a premium learning center. Like because if we start opening up and doing lower prices and trying to have bigger classes, 30 classes, that's a completely different business already. That's a different model entirely already. You can't do that under the same banner, right? So you have to create another banner to do that project under. Yeah. And then also, so that's for schools on the kids front. We're also thinking of expanding going into adult training. Yeah.
Mm.
We've had a lot of requests actually, because especially one of our coaches is very experienced in coaching adults, teaching adults public speaking. Sometimes people want like, oh, I have a wedding speech coming up and they want to practice for that, or I have this big presentation at work that I want to practice for. So there is a demand among adults for what we are doing. Uh, so I guess expanding the current business and the current product that we have, there's boundaries to it. So the way to expand would be to do adjacent things that are different, like yes, teaching public speaking, but for adults instead, or yes, teaching debating, but in like a bigger class and like a seminar kind of way, with a bigger audience, and charge them a lot less for that, and trying to find different business models, right? Because Luna Academy is still new. It's like 2 years old. Uh, but everyone, like the team has been involved in this for a very long time. Like everyone's very experienced. We just decided to come together and start this new project. And you can't be too stuck on, oh, this is the way that we want to do it, right? We're looking at this is version one of this project. And then see, okay, what do we have to adjust? What do we have to move, shift into, and make those pivots, right? And we want to keep Luna, this project for sure, and then open up other projects as well. I think that would be the way to expand.
The thing about scaling learning centers is you never stop learning. There's always some other obstacle,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And you have to be willing to learn all of that. right? Mm, like can't be too stubborn about it.
Yeah. But I mean, you're doing great. Very nice talking. This was really insightful. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great hanging out. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. If people want to learn more about Luna Academy, where do they go?
You can find our Facebook, the Luna Academy. Just look that up, the Luna Academy on Facebook, and you'll probably find us there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye bye.